Callahan's Corner, where you ask the questions, we answer them live right here on Facebook. Getting back into the rhythm as it's time to start working on your business and not in it, as Michael Gerber would say. Well, we're ending out the end of the year here, and it's time to get back to a regular cadence of Callahan's Corner, where we're going to answer your questions live from Facebook in the private groups that I've been hanging out in. So we've got a question here submitted. Mike, thanks for the answering the question on high-low price ranges. Implemented it based on your video and the matrices. Curious how to explain to clients what they will be charged and what determines that. Do I tell them that I'm there for X and it's X amount of dollars and I'm here for X and this is X amount of dollars? When you first implemented, how did you tell your clients how it worked? Well, awesome question here by Jordan. I'm going to dive in and answer Jordan's question. But in addition to answering Jordan's question, I'm going to break down how to create a high-low price estimate for a cleanup. And if you're in the home cleaning industry, this would be a great example how to create a high-low price range for your initial deep clean or top to bottom deluxe. So I'm going to dive in and answer Jordan's question. His main question here is, how did you explain to clients what they're charged and what determines that? So Jordan, as we're looking at a high-low price range, the idea here is, at least in Callahan's Lawn Care, my company, we were originally charging a minimum price, say $250 or $275 to show up for the cleanup. And that included X amount of man hours, say maybe 3 man hours. So 3 hours for one person. Now, if we had a 3-man crew, that would be divided out by the 3 guys. So it's a total of 3 man hours. The first thing we want to get clear here is that with a price range, we are going to go in and say, this is the minimum. So if we're there a minute or 10 minutes, doesn't matter. This is the minimum you're going to pay. So let's use the example of $250 to show up. That is our minimum. Now we need to be clear. Does that minimum in a spring or fall cleanup scenario that you're asking the question, does that include removal? So what I'm going to suggest is, for clarity, especially if you're using a CRM, a customer relationship management software such as Service Autopilot, that we're going to base our high-low price range on the actual labor to clean up the landscape beds and the lawn area and get it to the curb, or to a forever wild area if it's going to be left on the property. So we've got a high-low price range based on the actual fall or spring cleanup. Now, because you wanted a what is being paid for X amount of dollars. So the high-low price range includes the labor to remove the debris from the turf and lawn area and the bed area, either push it to a forever wild area or to the curb. The second part could be a set hourly fee for the debris removal. So if you're using a truck loader to go out and remove that debris, that machine, that truck, if it's a trailer unit to pull that debris, it's got a significantly higher dollar amount of overhead. And that machine, if you're using it appropriately with some route density, should probably be going in a systematic way when we route those waiting list jobs. So it's going behind the crews back and forth over 2 crews in a very tight geographic area. And anything they don't get that day, they go back out the next morning so the crews can get a head start on this. We don't have idle pieces of equipment sitting idle while they're waiting for more debris. So the way I'm going to explain this, I'm going to pop the screen up and show you how to build this, but I'm going to recommend that we look at it as an example of, we are giving them a high-low price range to protect the consumer and let them know where it falls, instead of saying, hey, it's going to be $65 per man hour. Well, nobody knows what $65 a man hour and the consumer end is going to be. And quite honestly, we really don't know either. So we want to communicate, very similar to Marcus Sheridan's book, They Ask You Answer, the questions that contractors don't want to ask and consumers want to know. Well, it's no secret. If we give you a high-low price range, that's going to protect you. But we, as a contractor, we have no idea to know what we're walking into. Up in the Northeast, the last 2-3 days with really heavy winds. So if you are doing a cleanup 2 or 3 days after that heavy winds, you can have half the leaves from down the street all the way into this yard. Are the leaves wet from rain? Are the leaves wet from snow that have fallen and melted now? They're compacted. Or worst case scenario, are there fence lines in the property that the wind from down the street has pushed and compacted all those leaves against the fence lines and in the corner of the fence line? Now, some of that can be blown out if you have permission to go in the neighbor's yard. Some of that realistically is probably going to have to be manually raked out. So we want to communicate what's included in the service, what's not included, what are the good things that can happen during the service, and what are the not so great things between the time of the estimate and the service being done. And if you're a consumer looking at this high-low price range and you want to keep pushing the contractor out to the very last minute, right before the snowfall, there's a good chance that when you play that Russian roulette with the leaves and the snow, that sometimes the snow is going to end up on top of those leaves and make a complete mess for the contractor to clean up. We're not assuming that risk. So we're sharing and assuming the risk together. So I'm going to recommend that you explain what's included, what's not included, the things that can happen, can drive that time up, but we're going to protect the consumer with a start and end time that is a fixed price, a minimum and maximum. Now, you may ask, Mike, what if we get out there and we get 3/4 of the job done, but we've hit that maximum time? Now, this is up to you. We can have somebody pre-approve overages of X amount of hours or dollars, or we could have, depending on the size of the crew or the business, we could have the office or someone communicate to the client saying, hey, we've hit our $500 threshold. We're looking at probably another 2 to 3 hours. Are you okay with the overages? And we go ahead. So they're signing off verbally or through an estimate electronically. So those are the things I'm going to recommend for best practice, to communicate what's included, what's not included. And I'm going to take the next 10, 15 minutes here really quickly and show you how to build this out, because it sounds great, a high-low price range. We've taken the risk out of the cleanup for the company, and we've taken the risk out for the client. Highly recommending most cleanup jobs, if you can do it for the first time at least, we do a high-low price range, and potentially your leaf removal from a truck loader in a complete vacuum system dedicated machine would be billed out separately. That way we're clocking in and out of a mobile device in our software and tracking this time separately. And when we build that out through a product like Service Autopilot, we can actually present the start and stop times from the crews on the invoice, so it's full transparency. And if you're using an automation that we call Be There, Been There, we can actually have the text message of the crew showing up, alerting the client, and when the crews leave. Now, obviously, we need to be transparent with that. There may be some crew members leaving before or getting there early. So that may add another factor that maybe with the communication, we need to make sure that that's clear. But those are the things that Jordan asked, and I think I'd recommend really clearly defining it. If you haven't read the book, They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan, really a great resource. This is what we were doing in my company, Callahan's, 6 or 7 years ago, the same that Marcus was doing in river pools and spas. We're simply asking and being upfront. We're answering the questions that consumers were asking that no one else was answering. And we've embedded videos inside the estimate that explain that. I'm going to show you that's a second piece of your communication. Overcome any sales or price objections and actually have the consumer trust, know, and like you. And when they get that $500 or $600 bill with some overages, they're not questioning it. You're on their team and you've already answered the questions and overcome the concerns before they get that bill. So what I'm going to do here is pop up the screen. We're going to go into the SimpleGrowth blueprint here, and I'm going to build this out here. So I'm going to put in our minimum cleanup, and that here is going to be based on cleanup square footage. And I'm going to say between 1 and 5,000 square feet is going to be my minimum of, let's say, $250. And on my crew, I want to get $65 per man hour, and it's costing me approximately $42 per man hour break even before I make a profit. So we've got here is our 250 divided by our 65. So that's going to give us about 3.75 hours. So I'm going to round this up. So our base price here is going to be actually based on 4 hours at $65 an hour. So our base price to show up in this example is going to be $260 for the first 5,000 square feet. That's our minimum price. And then I'm going to say every 1,000 square feet of bed and turf over the first 5,000 on our minimum price here. And we're going to assume our production rate stays the same. So I'm going to say take our 4 hours and divide that by 5 parts of 1,000. At 0.8 hours is our production rate to clean up the lawn. Now, based at $65 an hour, I'm going to multiply that by $65. And with my break-even cost of $42, that gets me at a budgeted cost before profit of $33.60. What I've done is covered our minimum price. Now, what I'm going to do is take the SimpleGrowth blueprint here. And if you are not using the SimpleGrowth blueprint, highly recommend making one of these yourselves. Because we need to blueprint and then implement it into the software of your choice. So now I've got my maximum cleanup price. So what I'm going to do is recommend is we've got probably worst case scenario, probably a 3 to 4 hour swing. So I'm going to say worst case scenario here is I've gone between 4 and let's just call it Well, let's see what 8 hours looks like. So between 260 and 520 would be my swing. Now on a normal lawn and property for a cleanup, I'm assuming this is going to probably be more around, let's call it 6.5 hours. So our high price is going to be 260. Our low price is going to be 422.50, and every 1,000 square feet over for the max is an additional 84.50. 1.3 hours and a cost of 54.60 before profit. So we've defined as our high and low with a minimum to show up and overages. Now, the third question was, well, how do you clearly define what's included for X amount of dollars and not included? Well, I'm going to say that in the estimate description is just going to include the actual cleanup, pushing to Forever Wild, like woods in the back. And if they want it removed, now we have our leaf vac removal. And that is going to be, service mode is literally going to be straight up an hourly charge. And that's going to be here, in my opinion, that is going to be a $100 charge to show up. And let's just say that is going to be at $85. Let's actually make it, let's make it 85 for this example. $85 per man hour. So now that we have this set up here, we're going to go into Service Autopilot and actually build this out. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into the gear icon and create a custom field. We know that custom field here is the cleanup square footage. So this systematic approach is going to be important because we want to build this out in the systematic order. We want to build the foundation and build upon it. If you're going to be in February in San Diego, I'm going to be doing a full 8-hour free event the week of the 20th, I believe, in San Diego for setting these types of things up. So free 8 hours. Drop a comment in here if you want to join me in San Diego in February, where you can sit down, meet with us in person for a first-person event for SimpleGrowth, sponsored by Service Autopilot, to learn how to set up Service Autopilot 100%. We'll be going over some of these things. So I'm going to make that custom field here, clean up square footage. Now in this test account, I got more than a few custom fields. So I'm going to make this 3 C's in front of it just so we can find it. And associated with the customer, I'm going to make the value a number so we can go in and actually do some math on it. Now, the next thing is we're going to go out and build the service. So we've got the services in here, and we're going to go in and knock this out. So what we're going to do is add a service, and I'm just going to throw those 3 C's in front of it again just so we can find it quickly. And we're going to go back to our blueprint, and I'm going to take our minimum cleanup here and go back into Service Autopilot and paste that in. We're going to need a code, an invoice description, service mode. So this is a question on communication. We want to be very specific when we type out that invoice description. So we're going to type out exactly how we're charging for this per man hour and the hourly rate. We're going to pick in our cleanup, and we're going into estimates. So for time, I'm not going in and filling these out, but this is where it's going to be important. And I'm going to show you that you can actually embed a video in here to actually better communicate what you're doing. So we're going into the rate matrix, quantity rate times visits. We're going in and grabbing our cleanup square footage. And right from our SimpleGrowth blueprint here, I'm going to go in and take these top 5 lines and drive that across. Once again, first 5,000 square feet is $260. Budgeted hours is 4, and its costing is $168. Every 1,000 square feet over the first 5,000 is our maximum, our minimum price of another $52 per 1,000. And it was costing us $33.60. So once again, we want to blueprint and then implement. We're going to save in news. We're just working down the SimpleGrowth blueprint. Our next one is our max cleanup based on cleanup square footage again. So we're going to go in and put our service, our code, per unit, invoice description, account is cleanup, estimate, description, and we are going into the rate matrices, quantity rate times visits, cleanup. And from 1 to 5,000, this is going to be our maximum price for the cleanup now. Going back to our blueprint, $422.50. That covers 6.5 man hours. 422.50 and 6.5 and 273 is our break even. Now every 1,000 square feet over my minimum price of 5,000 on my high range, instead of 52 is now 84.50 in 1.3 hours. And it is costing us a 54.60. That's our break even before we make a profit. So we're building the high-low range to communicate with the client. Now, we've communicated that we're only including the cleanup of the beds and the turf area and the debris pushed to the curb or to Forever Wild. So the next thing we need to go in is actually create our hourly service with a minimum of leaf vac removal. So what we're going to do is go back in and create a secondary service. I'm going to put these C's in front of it once again so I can find it. And our service mode now is going to be hourly. Invoice description account is going to be cleanup. Estimate description would be hourly service. I want to define that. For time's sake, I'm not doing that. And under details, default rate gone in is that's 85 per man hour, and our minimum amount is 85. All right, now we have, and we can do invoice time format. So we want to put the start and end times as well for both of these so we can actually be transparent with our client. So that is going to be important on both of those services. Once again, Jordan wanted to know about transparency. How do we talk about this? How do we communicate what the charge is? Well, we're putting the start and stop time based on how many guys were there automatically from the software. And I'm going to save that. And talking a little too much this morning, now we have a code, so we should be good. Next step is a little non-traditional, but the team at SimpleGrowth figured out a way to create this inside service autopilot. So we're going to utilize a master package and build out a package. And we go in and create our CCC, clean up price range. Renewal date, I'm going to make this next year. And this is going to be our minimum price, our max price, and I'm going to grab our CC minimum and our CC. And here's the question. If you are including the vacuum as an hourly rate, we would include it right in the package. So they have to accept it. Now, in this instance, I'm going to say, because Jordan's question was, how do we communicate that? I'm going to add that as a separate service so they can accept just the cleanup part and they can accept the removal part. So we're going to hit a start and end time here. And we're setting the start and end rate of the desired. So it has to be done today, but it needs to be done sometime this month. I'm going to save those changes. Now, next thing we're going to do is go into the gear icon and go into job estimate template and create this template. So it loads automatically when we click on it, and we've got our high-low price range for a cleanup, or even in the cleaning industry, a top-to-bottom deluxe or a deep clean. Something we do a lot in the cleaning industry as well. I'm going to go in and create this for both, and I'm adding a package. I'm adding that price range, and then I'm also going to go in and add our vacuum service. And now that we have this here under estimate settings, I want to make sure this shows appropriately. I believe in this test account it should be okay. So we're going to go in now and save and close. And one other thing that I may do here, if time permits, which I believe it will, go into my documents and show you that how we handle this. So I'm going to go into our estimate documents. and grab a video and show you how we can better communicate to answer Jordan's question here. All right, so I'm going to grab our, leave this example. No, that's an old document editor. Let's go back in. This may have a video on it. No, that's not it either. Let's see if we can find that has a video on it. Well, I'm going to grab a video here on the other screen. Pull this over to show you how to do it actually from. All right, so what we've got here is some YouTube videos that I've had here. So we could literally go in and grab a shrub pruning video, but we grab one that we made for spring cleanup or fall cleanup. But basically what we're going to do is go in and hit share. We're going to go to embed, and we're going to grab this code here. And then when we go into our gear icon, we go back to our job estimate templates and update the estimate description. So this is one way to go in and actually better communicate the way Jordan wanted to talk about it. So definitely recommend doing this. It's a little awkward at first, but no worse than sitting on here, Facebook Live, just kind of winging this, answering this question. So I'm going to go in and put that in there. I'm going to bold this, and then I'm going to go to the code, the source code, paste that in, and I'm going to make this probably 315 and 225. And there you have it. So that is our video of what would be included inside that. So I'm going to apply it, save, and we're going to select our document. And save and close. All right. So we technically now have a high-low price range with clear communication and a video loaded in here. So the next step is we're going to go in and add a lead and show you what this looks like here. So I'm going to add our friend tester here. And I'm going to go to our normal test account here so you can see it in action. And it's going to pop up. So what we're going to do is go to the More tab and do this high-low price range from the office. And now you or anybody in your team can literally do a high-low price range for a cleanup or any other service that can be satellite driven. Now, if you haven't figured out the production rates, we have other videos how to, we like to call guesstimate. But I'm going to capture it right around the house here so we actually include the beds. And I'm also recommending high-low price range. We had an A level, B level, and C level. So this is 100% efficiency. There's really no trees to speak of. B would be about 80% efficiency, and then C would be a 60% efficiency. So you can base it on the coverage here as well. So you got some granularity. This is going to be our cleanup square footage, and we're going to go in and highlight and color that in. And I'm going to go in to grab my custom field, which it would never be these many here, but I've got it right here. Custom square foot. We're going to save it. We got 9,600 square feet. So that's above our 5,000. So we're going to have some overage in this one. I'm going to hit add an estimate and bring this home for you guys with the communication piece. So once again, just like Jordan said, we want to communicate that we are going in and including the cleanup for one set high-low price range, and then the hourly rate with a minimum of $100 for the vacuum truck. So you can see here we've got a high-low price range of $520 and looks like I may have done some calculation error, so we'll go back and take a look at this. But we've got our minimum maximum price, and then we've got our 85 with overages here. So I'm going to go in and double check our max price because it looks like I may have made a mistake. So let's take a look at that. And that's not uncommon. So you do want to test these, especially if you're doing them live on Facebook. So we're going to go to the gear icon, services, and double check our maximum price. So really important to test these when you're building more, building live on Facebook as we are here. So I'm going to go into the name filter and just go to my CCC. And that is our minimum cleanup. And we do not have our max cleanup here for some reason. So let's, there it is. What service do we have here? Max cleanup, CCC. All right, let's see if this does it. If that should now in the rate matrices be covering that. So let's go in and back to our job estimate template. Update that, and then we'll retest it. We're going to go back in and grab check our master package. So we want to update the package before we reinsert it to the template. It needs to be done for that to actually pull the data in. That is particular to packages. Services, if you update the pricing, will automatically come in. Packages, on the other hand, we want to update those before we pull them into the template. Okay. Here's my mistake right there. I did the minimum, so I actually need to be going in to do the CCC. Max cleanup, we'll save that. We're going to delete that package and add a package here, and we should be good to go. Going back to my lead now, and we're going to recreate this estimate, and our pricing, our high-low pricing should load in. So once again, you do want to test these before you go live with them. As you can see here, I've been doing this for probably 10 or 11 years. It is easy to make a mistake, so you need to test that. And obviously, if you're doing it on Facebook Live off the cuff, it's potentially a little bit easier to make those mistakes. All right, so we have it here. Our minimum price at $520 to $840, 8 to 13 budgeted man hours, and our leaf removal at $80 per hour. So we have got our description in here and leaf removal. And Jordan wanted to know, so we are probably going to go in. Minimum price is $100 for first 1 hour and $85 per man hour thereafter. Why? We want to build that out on the template so it loads every time. And then we also have our estimate descriptions here if we were updating these as well. So based on those updates, I'm not sure if it actually captured my video. So I'm going to actually reinsert the video here from YouTube. And then we will show you the final product. All right, so once again, if you want to see how to record that video, we go to YouTube, we upload it, There's myself in the old Callahan's office. We go to share. We go to embed. And we grab this iframe. And we're going in, source code. Make that 250 and this guy 115. And apply, save, and then we're going to send this out so you can actually see what a live version of a high-low price range with a video embedded for transparency and what's included and not included is going on there. So we're going to go in. Traditionally, your email would load in if you filled it in. Good. Hit send. I'll pull up my email here and show you what the final product looks like. So once again, that email template loads in automatically. It's connected to an estimate document where the client can click accept, and the final part is the estimate acceptance email that will go out automatically for the client to see. So I'm going to pull in my email real quickly so you can see what the final product looks like live here on the show. So we've got our pre-templated email. I'm our future client looking at it. So we talked about, Jordan wanted to know about how do we communicate things. Well, we said, hey, I've included the 5 major difference why Callahan's Lawn Care is the lawn provider that you want to choose. We have some buttons you can communicate to, and we've provided our 5 major differences in testimonials. So right off the bat, we're going in and differentiating why we're different and why they should work with us before they get to the price. We created a higher perceived value. The client's going to go and click in, view my proposal, and with any luck, everything loads in the way we want it. So we've got our first step, select the services you want. Click here to sign and accept. Now, obviously, we'd have some descriptions here in the minimum and maximum, but we've got our minimum maximum price with the video that actually plays live inside the estimate. So this video is going to go in and say, you are paying for this, and it's going to cost you X high and low. You are paying for this, and this is the price based on a minimum of $100 for the first hour and $85 per man hour thereafter for the leaf removal. So we want to go in and clearly define your estimate descriptions in written text. Obviously, here I didn't have the time to do so. I'm recommending including a video along with the written text that plays live inside the estimate so we have clear communication. Some people like to read it. Some people like to hear it. Some people like to see both. Invoicing details, once again, very important. We want to be very clear on the details, the contract terms, and yes, I want to include another probably 6 to 9 videos where we, right in my business here, talked about spring cleanup. What is included? Fall cleanup. So this is the video that if you had at my fingertips, I would have said, put that in on a line item as well. So we're clearly talking about what's included, what's not included. We're charging X for this. We're charging X for this. Here's the high-low price range. And if it goes above that, how are we handling that? And you're accepting that through the online estimate. So we're going to scroll down. If there's anything with MSD labels, the things you need, we can link those out to the products for state compliance. We're going to click to sign. Customer signs electronically. They are going to print their name and hit accept. Automated email is going to go to the thing. And the best part about this I'm talking, I forgot to accept here. You actually have to physically click on those. So there is a process that you're requiring those clients to click on before they accept it. So if they come back and say, I didn't accept the leaf fact, well, it wasn't checked. So once again, best practice. You want it unchecked. They're physically clicking it. Now this automated email to thank them is going out. And we're going back to the lead. We're going to get a notification up here in the little bell icon that they've accepted. We go back in. Look at this. Estimate is already won. We can go in now and schedule directly from the estimate. So there's no double entry. We're eliminating multiple clicks. And we've got the signature email, signature information, time and date stamped from the IP. And under attachments, I've got a printable PDF of just the services they selected, complete with an electronic signature for collection and compliance. So comments or questions, drop below. Callahan's Corner, you ask the questions. We answer them live or right here on Facebook. Jordan, thanks for the great question. We're going to come back at a regular cadence here, rounding out the end of the year and going into next year. So we'll see you again. Callahan's Corner. You ask the questions, we answer them live right here on Facebook.